Welcome everyone to this listening part 3, listening for information analysis. Now I'm just here in the listening part 3 section of the CELPIP library. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that listening part 3 focuses more on CLB 4, 5, or 6. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you need to get CLB 4, 5, or 6, then you need to do better in this part, and you can do better in this part, okay? That's because this part will have more familiar and common dialogues, okay? More common and familiar vocabulary and expression. And so the questions and the answers will also be more familiar and easier for lower levels to understand, and much easier than parts 4, 5, or 6. Okay? So in this part, you need to try to get the most points that you can. Now, if you need to get CLB 7 or higher, then this part should be easier for you as well. And usually higher levels, they get almost everything correct in this part, okay? Because again, it's not so complicated like part 4, 5, or 6. And in those parts, it will be more difficult for higher levels as well. So that's what it means that part 3 is more focused on CLB 4 to 6, okay? Also, I want to remind you that we have this great listening part 3 tips and strategies video, okay? This video will give you more information about how you can listen effectively, how you can manage time effectively, what kind of information you should gather while you're listening, and how you can answer the questions more effectively. So, if you're interested in getting more tips and strategies, some of the tips and strategies that I will be using, then please watch that video, and I will leave a link in the description box to that video. Okay? Okay, then let's get to today's lesson sample. A stormy day. Sounds terrible. Now, before we get started with that, I do want to give you some excellent listening tips. Okay. Some of the tips that I feel are great for lower levels and higher levels. Okay. We can both learn and focus on our listening more by following these tips. Number 1, listen to full sentences, more than words. Okay. Lower levels, we still have a problem with focusing too much on words and not full sentences. When you focus too much on words, you miss ideas, and the answers get confusing because they put similar words or the same words. So remember, everyone, it's not a vocabulary test or a word test. It's an idea test, okay? Listening for ideas, not words. So for that, listening to full sentences guarantees that we listen for ideas more than words, okay? Number 2, it's very important, everyone, to repeat as much information as you can, and repeat full sentences or full parts, not just words, okay? Now, this is very important for lower levels, because lower levels, again, we still have a problem with remembering information or keeping information. So when we repeat ideas and when we repeat information, then we can remember more information. This is very important. The more you repeat, the more you remember. Now, What about taking notes? Well, taking notes is also a great idea. But from my experience, lower levels, we still have a problem with writing. And we still have a problem with writing notes and listening while we write. That's why for lower levels, it's more important to repeat information than write notes. But if you can, write a word or two as long as it doesn't keep you away from the listening, because that's the goal, listening to the audio. Okay? So let's remember that. Writing notes are also good. Higher levels, I think you should be able to write notes much faster. And if you can, then that's good. But even for higher levels, this part, we need to get everything correct. And the information and the questions are not so difficult. So I find that repeating it is also more important for you. Okay? Also, let's remember, we need to repeat the question as soon as we hear it. You listen to the question, you repeat it. That way you know what the question is while you read the answers. Now, for the answers, the most important tip that we can give for the answers, everyone, it's try to focus on the idea of each answer, not just each word. Because many times the answers, they put words that you heard, but they put all of them, not just one. And so we need to try and focus on full ideas, okay? And connect, associate the words. That's another important one, okay? So focus on the full idea of the answer, not just the word. Okay, and one more tip I can give about the answers, okay? And that one is about direct and indirect questions. Okay? Indirect questions can be difficult to understand. For example, how does the woman feel? Or how does the man feel? They never said exactly how they feel. So we have to imagine, or we have to think from the information that we heard, what was the feeling, or what another popular one is, what is the man or the woman, what are they going to do next, or what will they likely do next? That one is indirect, because we have to imagine from what we hear, or we have to assume what the answer will be. So keep in mind, okay? Keep that in mind, that not every question is direct, meaning we hear exactly that information. There are indirect questions and direct questions. Okay? All right. So, listening part 3, it's similar to part 1 and 2, just in here, there's more information, and the questions are usually more about specific information that they spoke about. And that's what makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay? Okay, and we are doing test practice 1. Here we go. Now, everyone, I want to remind you that we're doing this listening together. First, I'm going to give you a chance to listen to the conversation and then answer the questions yourself. I will show you the answers question by question. Okay, and I will let you know when it's the questions time. And then after that, we're going to analyze together. Okay, so first, let's get started with the conversation.
Listening for information.
Here is a report on the severe storms that caused so much damage in the northern part of the country last night. Cindy Chavez is reporting from one town that was hit by the bad weather. Cindy, What's the situation like there?
Good morning, John. Well, this morning the North is waking up to the results of some of the severest storms in 30 years. Throughout the night, the area was hit by thunderstorms, hailstorms, and heavy rains. Several small towns were completely flooded, and hundreds of people were left homeless.
What happened to those people? Were they rescued?
Yes, John. Many people were rescued by the fire department. The scary thing was, some people couldn't leave their homes because of the floods. So they had to climb onto the roofs of their houses and wait for the fire department to rescue them in boats.
And have the people been able to return to their homes?
No, not yet. Many are staying with friends and neighbors, and others are staying in school buildings in towns near here. Fortunately, no one was badly injured, though of course many homes were seriously damaged.
Thank you for that report, Cindy. Now I hear you have an update on a story you reported yesterday. Some good news this time?
That's right, John. Yesterday I reported on a young couple who were getting married in a park. The wedding ceremony was disrupted by a huge hailstorm. The groom was hit on the head by a hailstone the size of a golf ball, and he was taken to the hospital.
And the wedding was canceled?
Yes, that was terrible. But here's an update, and it's good news. This morning, I was told that the groom was not seriously injured, and he and the bride have set a new date for their wedding.
A happy ending, then, to that story.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, Cindy.
So then, everyone, let's get to the questions, okay? So again, you will have 20 seconds between the questions. And I'm going to let the questions play, and I'm going to show you the answers, okay? Here we go.
Question 1.
How does the woman describe the results of the storm?
Question 2.
What caused the destruction?
Question 3.
What was the most traumatic event for the victims?
Question 4.
What does the reporter say people will have to face after the storm?
Question 5.
What best describes the wedding news?
Question 6.
How do the couple feel after the incident? Okay then, everyone, let's get to analyzing the answers, okay? So let's see here, question 1. How does the woman describe the results of the storm? Okay, let's see. Encouraging, constructive, inspiring, concerning. Well, let's see here. Okay. Here's a report on the severe storms that caused so much damage in the northern part of the country last night. Cindy Chavez is reporting from one town that was hit by the bad weather. Cindy, what's the situation like there? Good morning, John. Well, this morning the north is waking up to the result of some of the severest storms in 30 years. It's happening again. It's true. Throughout the night, the area was hit by thunderstorms, hailstorms, and heavy rains. Several small towns were completely flooded and hundreds of people were left homeless. Okay, so sounds to me like very negative. And the word that means negative the most is concerning. It's worrisome, not positive, okay? All right. And just to be clear, inspiring means like motivational, not that. Constructive means like we're building something or it's positive. Encouraging is also like motivating, okay? So positive, no. What about the next? What caused the destruction? Okay. Lightning and thunder, rain and hail, high winds, rising water levels. Okay, well, they mentioned all that. Several small towns that was hit by thunderstorms, hailstorms, heavy rain. Several small towns were completely flooded and hundreds of people were left homeless. What happened to those people? Were they rescued? Yes, John, many people are rescued by the fire department. The scary thing was some people couldn't leave their homes because of the floods. So they had to climb on the roofs of their houses and wait for the fire department to rescue them in boats. So it looks like the answer should be rising water levels because it's talking about floods, lots of water. Okay. What about 3? What was the most traumatic event for the victims? Traumatic, very, very serious or negative. Escaping the rain, escaping the flood, the hailstorms, the thunderstorms. Well, I think that we read that already. And the scary thing was some people couldn't leave their homes because of the floods. So it was because of the floods, right? So again, it's about escaping the flood. Okay, not just a hail. And what about number 4? What does the reporter say the people will have to face after the storm? So after the storm, what will they face? A long recovery, waiting for the flood to end, finding homeless victims, their destroyed homes. So what will they have to face? What will be the problem for them? Let's see. And have the people been able to return to their homes? No, not yet. Many are staying with friends and neighbors, and others are staying in school buildings in towns near here. Fortunately, no one was badly injured, though of course many homes were seriously damaged. So, sounds like not waiting for the flood to end, not finding the homeless victims. They are homeless. So, looks like a long recovery means there could be a long time before they can return. Okay? And it seems to me that many homes were seriously damaged. So, actually, I'm changing my mind here. It's their destroyed homes. The homes are destroyed. So that is the biggest problem, okay? Number 5, What best describes the wedding news? Okay. A forgettable day, an unexpected tragedy, fall, hail, fall, a cheerful hail wedding. And the wedding was canceled. Yes, that's terrible, but here's an update, and it's good news. This morning I was told the groom was not seriously injured, and he and the bride have set a new date for their wedding. A happy ending then to that story. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Cindy. Well, I think it's not cheerful and it's not fall hail. It's not a tragedy because everything was good, but a forgettable day because I need to forget about the wedding being canceled, even though it's good news. Okay. And then number 6, how did the couple feel after the incident? Well, we just read it: uncertain, nervous, optimistic, organized. So it says here a happy ending. And they've set a new date for the wedding. So should be optimistic because they've set a new date, so positive, not just organized. It doesn't really match about feeling. Nervous, no, because it's over. Uncertain means they don't know, but they know the new date, okay? All right then. So then, everyone, we've got 6 from 6 now, everyone. What can we do to practice? Well, the first thing that we can do, everyone, is review the answers. We need to review the answers and we need to see why the answers are the answers. Okay, and also why the answers are not the answers. Very important. Okay. That will really improve your comprehension skills. And also, everyone, then we need to review the script. Here's the script. We need to review the script. We need to check for vocabulary. We need to understand the ideas, understand the expression. It's very important to review the script and understand the way ideas are expressed to build our knowledge. Okay? So for that, I've left a link in the description box to this lesson sample. And then we have vocabulary building for this section, okay? Great vocabulary. Look at all these vocabulary words: indifferent, to not care; absence, to not be there. Great list which gives you the word, the basic meanings, synonyms, antonyms, okay? Very good. And then after you study that, then we have some sentences down here where you need to complete the sentence by putting one word from the vocabulary. Great exercise, everyone, for building your vocabulary. Excellent. And then we have this comprehension building. Okay, comprehension building. Now, this one is also a great exercise for listening. We listen to one sentence. Okay, let's listen to it.
Nowadays, there are more benefits for working parents.
So after you listen to that sentence, you need to decide which sentence, A or B, has the same meaning as the one you heard. Great for building comprehension for listening, everyone. And it gets more difficult as we go. For example, number 6, which sentence has the same meaning? A, B, neither A nor B, or both A and B. This exercise, I feel, is great for helping lower levels improve their listening comprehension skills. Great exercise. Okay, And then down here we have following dialogue. Following dialogue is also an excellent exercise. Okay, we listen to the audio, and as we listen, we complete the dialogue with a word that we hear. Okay, what is the word that we hear? And we complete the dialogue with that word. Great for improving your listening comprehension skills and listening skills. Okay. And then we have here test practice number 1, which is the one we will analyze now. And then test practice number 2. Test practice number 2 is version 2 of this exam. And after you complete this listening analysis, then you should do that one on your own to review and practice what you learned. Also, everyone, let's not forget about CELPIP Library. CELPIP Library has over 60 examples of listening part 3 and also version 2s, which is great, everyone, to practice part 3. So, with discount code CELPIP79, again, discount code CELPIP79, you can get a 3-month subscription of CELPIP Library for only $10.99. That's a great deal, everyone, and I strongly recommend it. Let's not forget, practice makes perfect.